Yeah, hi everyone. Nice to see you again for our weekly Dharma Talk, Zoom Dharma Talk. We've been using it now for, I think, 160 something times that we've actually done the Zoom classes. So congratulations, everyone. And so let's do the chanting straight away. Once again, a little bit faster than we used to do it. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddhist way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata gati gati para samgati bodhi soha. Tayata gati gati para samgati bodhi soha. Tayata gati para samgati bodhi soha. So now get yourself ready for some meditation. Yes. With a nice inner smile, pleasant expression on your face. In other words, don't stress yourself out physically. Nice and relaxed face, not frowning, not clenching the jaw, and so on. Nice and relaxed shoulders, but not slouching. And bring your mind inside your body to release the tension from inside the body. As you do this, naturally, you will release tension from your mind. They work hand in hand, the mind and the body. So starting from the tips of your toes, work your way up your legs to your shoulders, then down to the tips of your fingers and to the top of your head. Let's take a few moments to do this now. And now scan your body again to see if there's any leftover tension that you can release. And if there is, release it. Now bring your mind to the tip of your nose initially, and the focus is the breath, the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose, all the way into your lungs, and then back out your nose again. Breathing in and breathing out. Physically, you just have to be here, sitting, or whatever position you're in. Just be here physically. And then breathe. And then mentally focus on the breath. And if you get distracted, then replace your mind back onto your breath. Or if your mind becomes dull, replace it onto the breath more brightly. Breathing in, breathing out. Everything else can wait. If thoughts arise or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it or grasp at it. Also, don't try to force it away or deny it, but simply and naturally replace your mind back onto your breath at that time. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. You may also like to add the extra technique of counting the breaths. 1 in breath, 1 out breath is 1, and so on. But if you get distracted counting the breath towards 10, then go back to 1 at that time. Don't count past 10. Because we don't want the counting to be the focus. We want the breath to be the focus. So let's practice like this in silence for a little bit. So now you can feel pleased with yourself and fill yourself with universal loving kindness. Fill your whole being with this universal loving kindness. The feeling of the loving kindness, as well as utilizing the visualization techniques. Either fill yourself with the white light or white nectar, if you prefer. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness, with this friendship, harmlessness, goodwill, appreciation and gratitude and respect. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards, initially to your loved ones, your family, your friends, and fills them with the universal loving kindness too. May they be happy. May they be safe. May they be free from suffering. And may they be peaceful. And now also radiate the loving kindness to those that you may regard as strangers, that you're indifferent towards. Fill them with the universal loving kindness too. May they also be happy. May they be safe. May they be free from suffering, and may they be peaceful. Now radiate the loving kindness also to those you may regard as enemies. Fill them with the universal loving kindness. May they also be happy, be safe, be free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now let's extend the loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, starting around your immediate area initially, to all living beings now, not just people. All the living beings that live in the waters, live on the land, under the land, fly through the air, born from wombs or eggs or moisture, or through transformation. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born. May they all be happy, safe, free from suffering, and to be peaceful. Now throughout your whole state or county, and other states and counties throughout your whole country. Include all the living beings now that you know about, as well as those you don't know about. And other countries throughout this whole world. Those countries that you have an affinity towards, those you're indifferent towards, and those that you have some negative feelings towards. Until your loving kindness also pervades throughout all of the oceans, all of the waterways, down to the core of the earth, to the outermost atmosphere. This loving kindness that is generated in your own heart is now spread throughout this whole planet and beyond. Radiate the loving kindness throughout this whole solar system. And all of the solar systems throughout the galaxy. And all of the galaxies throughout the whole universe. until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. And now, feeling pleased with yourself, be present here and now, and we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And so we're doing the conclusion for the commentary on the 8 verses of thought transformation. This is part 2 this week. There will be a part 3 next week, and then we'll move on to some random subjects for a while before we start the next major subject. Okie dokie. Actually, I'm thinking that we'll start the next major subject, teachings by the Master Atisha, the start of next year, because it's already now the middle or past the middle of October, isn't it? So maybe we have another couple of months to do. And then, like I said, we'll do random things. You can ask me questions if you like. I'll answer them to you personally, but also during the classes. And also I'll pick some random things myself as well as other questions from other people. And so this commentary on these 8 verses, I think you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've given many examples, many ways to look at each one and the purpose for the practice. And so this is these are the verses. With the wish to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. Whenever I am with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all, and from the very depth of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. In all actions, I will examine my mind at the moment a disturbing attitude arises. Endangering myself and others, I will firmly confront and avert it. Whenever I meet a person of bad nature who is overwhelmed by negative energy and intense suffering, I will hold such a rare one dear, as if I have found a precious treasure. When others, out of jealousy, mistreat me with slander, abuse, and so on, I will practice accepting the defeat and offering the victory to them. When someone I have benefited and whom I have placed great trust hurts me very badly, I will practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher. In short, I will offer directly and indirectly every benefit and happiness to all beings, my mothers, and in secret I will take upon myself all their harmful actions and sufferings. Without these practices being defiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, I will practice without grasping to release all beings from the bondage of the disturbing, unsubdued mind and karma. And these verses were written down spoken initially by Master Geshe Langri Tampa, who lived between 1054 and 1123 of the Common Era. Okay, just to remind you of that, even though we went into detail about that early on at the start of February and throughout February, I think. So if you want to look at the previous classes, right back to the beginning, you can look at them on YouTube. It's probably the easiest way. Okay, Dharmacharya Andrew Williams YouTube channel. And you can go through them in order. You know, maybe even you can fast forward to the Dharma Talk part if you'd like to bypass the chanting and the meditations. And then it's, 20, 25 minutes at most. And it doesn't take too much of your time, and you can relearn these things. You can reinforce what you know already, clarify what maybe you don't understand fully or clearly, maybe even teach yourself something new, something you didn't pick up before. Okay. So anyway, I thought today that we'd actually do, as we did early on a couple of times, I think maybe 3 times, is actually generate the mind, do the verse for generating the mind for great awakening, great enlightenment, the Bodhicitta mind. I just read a couple of notes from early on, actually. For those who admire the spiritual ideals, of the 8 verses of thought transformation, it is helpful to recite the following verse for generating the mind for enlightenment. Practicing Buddhists should recite these 8 verses and other verses that are similar. Reflect on the meaning. Really important to understand the meaning, the purpose behind these practices, to enhance our altruism and compassion and increase our wisdom. Okay. So now you can repeat after me as we did previously. We'll do them 3 times. We'll do it slowly, okay, not fast like before, the other chanting. With a wish to free all beings. Repeat. I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach supreme enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening, for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, I too shall remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Now we repeat again, the second time, with the wish to free all beings. I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach supreme enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening, for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, I too shall remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And for the third time, with a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach supreme enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening, for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, I too shall remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So rejoice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Okay, Namo Buddhaya. So I just share with you, some of you know this already, but when I do this chanting, this generating this bodhicitta, we already do it in the verse that says, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until I reach enlightenment myself, by the practice of practicing the 6 paramitas and so on. Okay, we already do that there. And also, however innumerable all sentient beings are, about to save them all. So the 4 great vows of the Bodhisattva too. I tag the last verse on the end of the 4 great vows of the Bodhisattva, because we've already done this, generating the mind for enlightenment and taking refuge. Okay, so basically, however innumerable all sentient beings are, about to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, about to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, about to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, about to follow it completely. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, I too shall remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And what we mean by that, by remaining, means that we're going to practice and to generate this bodhicitta, this great compassion, and realize the supreme wisdom, eventually realize the supreme enlightenment. okay? Keep practicing like this. Have this intention that we will do whatever we can to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings. Okay, so don't worry, you're not slowing down your enlightenment. Actually, you're quickening it up, you could say, all right? So we should practice as much as we can, generate this bodhicitta, realize the supreme wisdom, or at very least, be warm-hearted, okay? These attitudes bring happiness. These 8 verses and the spirit within them, the practices within them cause happiness. Taking sort of care of others actually benefits you first. And of course, then we increase our compassion and the conditions we need to realize the supreme wisdom. We should understand the law of karma, law of cause and effect, okay? It applies here as well. Generate this great merit, this great compassion, practice these methods, and realize the supreme wisdom. Contemplate the other possibilities of the law of karma, the other way things can be, supreme being type of thing, controlling everything. Nothing, everything just goes away. No, of course, law of karma is how we are continually reborn in cyclic existence, how we continue to have the moment to moment to moment conscious continuum, okay? And so I thought that I'd just have a little look at some previous notes from when we first started doing these classes. And the clock hasn't come up there yet. Interesting. Leanne actually said that she had an update happening at Zoom, for Zoom. That's why she didn't let you guys in straight away, or me either, and I know that happened to my mum too. But it didn't happen to me. I didn't have the update for some reason. Anyway, so maybe we're running it just a little bit late, maybe 5 minutes or something. Okay, so I just thought I'd have a little look at these notes to talk about these verses. So first of all, the verse 1. With the wish to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. All beings have been our parent or relative in previous lifetimes. We've been our friend. They have brought benefit to us so many times. They have been our enemies. They have been strangers. Okay, so we have been in each other's lives before. And so now, knowing this, we need to be good influence. We need to actually increase our compassion, care for others, because we have been so self-centered for so long. And this is such a thick habit. Even good people like you guys, you're self-centered. Me too. We need to slowly chip away at this, chip away at the mental afflictions that come from this. Eventually uproot the cause, the root cause, which is the attachment to self, the ignorance, okay? So for the welfare of all sentient beings, I wish to attain this enlightenment. All right, now what did I write for the initial introduction? One is requesting, may I be to view all sentient beings, be able to view all sentient beings as a precious jewel, because they are the object on which account I can achieve enlightenment. May I be able to hold them dear. So actually, all sentient beings, this is how they are essential for us to think about them, for us to be able to attain enlightenment. We can't do it without them, because we can't develop this great bodhicitta, this great compassion. It'll remain in our imagination, but we actually need to put this into practice. We need to have the aspiration, and then we need to practice the actual practice of it, both from the sense on the cushion as well as off the cushion, through our actions and our words and so on, okay? And the influence that we have on others as well. The more people we can influence in a good way, the more good practitioners there will be out there as well. And that will help us. The more we help others, we are helping ourselves, and so on, okay? So then verse number 2 says, when I am with others, I will practice myself as the lowest of all, and from the very depth of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. Before I go on, I will encourage you to recite these verses at least once a day, and then contemplate the meaning of them. Do it slowly over time. It's fine. But if you can just recite them once a day, I do it 3 times a day. morning time when I first wake up, and then later more formally, more intensely, and then in the evening as well. Okay, along with the other prayers as well. Okay, so it doesn't take very long to do them. Only 8 verses, really short. Then contemplate them and get to really understand why it is that you're practicing these things, these verses. Okay, so respectfully holding others as being supreme means not regarding them as an object of pity. Okay, so often we do that, even if we are good people, we pity others that are suffering or lower than ourselves, for instance. That you look down on them, rather perceiving them as higher objects, higher beings than yourself, for instance. Okay, so that's why we say put others above ourselves, because for so many lifetimes we have put ourselves above others, and now we're undoing that self-centeredness, okay? That self-importance thing. We are trying to free ourselves, you could say, from pride. Remember what I say, when we're with others, this pride so easily can turn into arrogance when you're with beings you think are lower than you. It can easily turn into jealousy and envy when you are with beings that you see as above yourself, and to unhealthy competitiveness when you're with those that you regard are equal to you. Okay, so easily can lead to these secondary mind states that are unwholesome. All right, so nip it in the bud. Once again, you utilize that saying. So respectfully holding others as being supreme means not regarding them as an object of pity, rather you are perceiving them as higher than yourself. It's very precious. An example, insects are inferior to us. They do not know the proper things to adopt or abandon, or right from wrong. But in saying that, they also probably don't build atom bombs either. I think you get my sort of point there. Keep a good intention, Don't utilize this intelligence that we have as human beings, this level of intelligence. Don't utilize it in a bad way, like a lot of people have done over time. We know because we can see the destructive nature of our defilements. Okay, so we know that, whereas maybe the animals, the insects, they don't really know that. Okay, we're not sure, of course, but utilizing this as an example today. From another viewpoint, like I just mentioned or alluded to, while we are aware of the destructive nature of defilement, we don't correct it, or haven't so far because we're not enlightened yet. We are under the influence of our defilements and our senses. In this sense, you could say we are inferior to the insects because we cause the harm intentionally. And sometimes through such thick habits, we think we're actually doing the right thing. And that's really sad. Verse number 3 says, in all actions, I will examine my mind. In the moment a disturbing attitude arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly confront and avert it. Okay, so excuse me just for a moment. So this verse emphasizes, is an emphasis on the thoughts. These thoughts focused on those who have very sort of strong negativities. Actually, no, sorry. No wonder it didn't make sense to me as I was reading it. I was doing verse number 4. I thought, hang on a minute. I read this like half an hour before class. Anyway, so sorry about that. So when engaged in a practice like this, we can realize that the only thing which causes obstacles is the defilements within one's own mind, one's own mental continuum. So often we blame others, don't we? It's their fault. They made me angry. Actually, no, the anger's in your own mind. So we ourselves and our defilements really cause these obstacles on the Dhamma path. Outside influences do not cause obstacles. So avoid an attitude of idleness or laziness, complacency, or passivity towards the inner enemy, which are the defilements, the ignorance, and then the attachment and aversion that the ignorance gives rise to, and then all of the other mental afflictions that come from these 3 poisonous attitudes. So rather be alert, be alert to check our mind often and always if you can. try to keep this good intention, bodhicitta intention, or at very least, harmless, okay? Be honest, be aware, be conscientious, and counter the defilements immediately. So don't let them grow, just like the weeds in the garden. Don't let them grow and overtake your mind. Nip them in the bud as soon as you recognize them. Anger arises, nip it in the bud. Any form of self-centeredness arises, nip it in the bud. Be kind to yourself like that. Sometimes you may have to force it in the beginning, especially. But as you practice, you'll start to see the goodness in the practice and the good results that come from the practice. This will give rise to more and more joy in the practice, more and more enthusiasm to continue the practice. Okay, so practice well, study Dharma well, practice Dharma well, share Dharma well, and keep this in your mind. Keep the good intentions. Number 4, whenever I meet a person of bad nature who is overwhelmed by negative energy and intense suffering, I will hold such a rare one dear as if I have found a precious treasure. And so my notes say this from before. I'm adding bits to it now, though, as well. So this verse emphasizes those thoughts focused on those who have very strong negativities. Normally, we don't want to hang out with these people, right? And even at the beginning, as we start practicing the Dharma, we shouldn't hang out with bad people because they may influence us. But as we go along the path, become more advanced in our practice, develop this mind of bodhicitta, we should be with these people to help them. And they also can help us because they're difficult to be with, And so we get to practice patience more, loving kindness more, friendship more, really get to delve into our mind and check our intentions. So generally, if it's more difficult to have compassion towards such people afflicted by such sufferings and so forth, when they have a very bad nature and personality and behave so badly. Actually, they should be regarded as the most supreme objects of one's compassion, as if you have found a treasure to develop this true compassion. I've no idea when we went under a minute, but I'd say we've only got a few seconds to go. So I rejoice in your goodness as per usual, and we'll finish up next week this commentary on the 8 verses of thought transformation and these conclusions. Thank you.